Hi guys, John from LookSmart Home Inspections right here in New Jersey. And I want to talk to you guys about equipment ages today. And I want to talk to you about the importance of a home inspector here in New Jersey telling you how old the HVAC is in your house, the boiler, the furnace, and the water heater, and why that's important. It's important because all of this equipment, these appliances, they have a statistical life expectancy, right? So they all are expected to last a certain number of years, in normal use in cycles. So you can basically gauge as to when you're going to have to replace that unit, or at least get an idea of when you're going to have to replace that unit. So I do this in my home inspections, and I don't know if other home inspectors do it. I don't think it explicitly says in the home inspection regulations in New Jersey that we have to definitively tell our client how old the equipment is. I don't think that's there. But I like to do it, and most times we can do it by just looking at the serial numbers. So after doing this for 25 years, I can basically look at the majority of serial numbers and data plates on equipment and tell you how old the equipment is. And I think this is very, very useful, for budgeting down the road. For example, like a water heater, a regular standard natural draft water heater that you would find in any, home here in New Jersey would last, statistically speaking, about 10 years. A tankless style water heater, maybe last a little bit longer, but without proper maintenance, shorter. Boilers would typically last about 20 to 25 years, but could last a lot longer also, given regular maintenance schedules and the type of boiler and the manufacturer of the boiler. Some are better than others for sure. Same thing with the HVAC, right? We can use a general rule of thumb with the HVAC that says the outside condenser unit, well, that's got a life expectancy of around 10 to 15 years. The inside coil unit, that has a life expectancy of about 15 years. And just a general furnace in a home would last around 15 to 20 years, right? These are just general guidelines, but I think it's important to know. I mean, you're spending a lot of money on a house in New Jersey, and don't you want to know how much, at what age the equipment is at? It's a little bit more challenging to date appliances, like how old is the dishwasher in the kitchen? Difficult to know. Many appliance manufacturers don't really make it sort of readily available to put a date age on their appliances. Like on a, take for example a gas range or electric range, dishwasher. It's just more difficult to do. And this also is true with a washer and dryer. But sometimes you can just tell by the look of the appliances, the wear and tear on the units and stuff like that. Of course, we're all going to test these appliances to make sure that they are on, they're operational, at the time of the home inspection. But really what I'm talking about is the big expensive equipment in the home, the boiler, the furnaces, the water heater, your air conditioner. Those units have serial numbers and data plates that are typically readable. And the home inspector really would have no trouble, even if he or she had to take that information and bring it back to the office, doing research and determining the age of those units. So I think this is very, very important, and you should ask your home inspector about this. If he or she is not, telling you, roughly how old your equipment is in the home, I think they're doing you a disservice. Even though this isn't really stipulated anywhere that I can find anyway, I think it's really important part of the home inspection. I do it, and you should probably hire a home inspector here in New Jersey who also gives you an idea of at least the ages of the major components in the house, just so you can make good decisions on those equipment, later, whether to go ahead and replace them, proactively, like a water heater. If a water heater is like 15 years old, you may want to just go ahead and replace that proactively, before you have a problem. Same thing with a furnace and a boiler. If you're looking at a 30-year-old boiler, you're kind of on borrowed time. I mean, some of the boilers will last a very long time, but you don't really want to take that chance and it be, a cold January or February day and then the boiler goes out, and it's got a damage internally, and you have to replace that boiler. So let's not be surprised. Let's provide our customers with this important information about the age of the equipment in the home, when it's easily and readily available, and we can present that information